This is KRQE News 13 with Dick Niffing and Diane Anderson.
It's the kind of cold case that's extremely hard to solve.
No one knows who the victim is, let alone the killer. The 1975 murder of a teenage girl had baffled New Mexico police for 34 years. But on tonight's special assignment, Kim Holland reports one determined detective has finally named the girl and solved the case.
Gallup, December 1975. A 16-year-old girl looking forward to Christmas, shot dead in the Thriftway gas station on Route 66.
Also takes a shot at the clerk that's inside. Definitely scary for the people that are inside.
Police scoured the area. Witnesses saw the suspect and sketched his face on this paper towel, but the killer escaped in a green van. The focus then turned to the young woman he murdered and left behind. She had no identification, no fingerprints on file. Police didn't know who she was.
Sent out flyers to police departments across the country. Is anybody missing anybody with this description? Also came up cold.
The file grew over the years.
This is from the initial detectives.
The pages yellowed.
Case number was 12-1475-01A-4.
And the teenager who was nicknamed Jane Doe was buried in an unmarked grave in Gallup.
This is it, right here. Terrible spot. No place that no father would want to see his daughter buried.
As the case came to a standstill, time marched on. The gas station is long gone. But detectives never forgot about this case, occasionally cracking open the files over the past decades. But there's one former Gallup detective who helped give a name to Jane Doe. That former Gallup street cop is Terry Coker. He couldn't solve the case in 1975. But today, he has the tools to help crack this 30-year-old cold case. You see, Coker now works for the Office of the Medical Investigator in Albuquerque.
Let's see.
In the file was a DNA sample taken from Jane Doe in 1975. Today, Coker could check the National CODIS database for a DNA match, something that didn't exist in the 1970s.
DNA for this case was the saving grace.
Coker and Gallup police also found a potential match on the Jane Doe network, which helps identify victims and finds missing people. But when investigators exhumed the body to collect additional DNA, they finally learned who Jane Doe was.
We got a positive identification on her in June of '09.
Her cell phone rang, and when I looked at it, it was the 505 area code. And that's basically what I did. I just shook my head, took a deep breath, and it was Terry Coker.
Terry Coker told Pamela Mulligan her sister was Jane Doe. 16-year-old Candace Lynn Starr disappeared 34 years ago. We traveled to Idaho to talk with Pamela about the 3-decade mystery finally coming to a close. What did you think had happened to her all this time?
I thought that she was dead. I just didn't know how. I didn't know where. I didn't know if I would ever find out.
Now the case turns to how did Candace Lynn Starr end up in Gallup, and who did this? For that, you have to go to Los Angeles, California. On September 21st, 1975, Candace Starr's ex-boyfriend snatched her from her home. Her 2 younger sisters watched helplessly.
And he grabbed her around the neck and forcibly drug her out of the house at gunpoint with a gun at her head.
The Los Angeles police never took a police report. Pamela suspects it's because she was an habitual runaway. Pamela believes for 3 months, Candace lived a violent life with her 30-year-old ex-boyfriend until they ended up in Gallup, New Mexico, where he shot and killed her after an argument.
Didn't have a chance to get married, to have babies, to really fall in love with a good guy.
The girl with piercing green eyes and naturally curly hair lived such a short life.
Yeah, it bothered me that she was in the desert for 34 years by herself.
Police believe Candace's ex-boyfriend, Michael Singh, a former military man, killed her. 2 years after Candace's shooting, Singh was convicted of shooting and killing his new wife. With good time, he was on work release and escaped. And his killing spree continued when Singh beat his second wife to death with a shovel in 1982. Singh was committed to the Fulton State Mental Hospital in Missouri, but he will never be charged with killing Candace. That's because in 2005, another patient killed Singh in this hospital.
What was your feeling when you found out he was dead?
Justice was served.
And Candace Lynn Starr finally got the dignity she deserved. Her body was returned home to California. After 34 years, Pamela is finally able to say goodbye to her sister in her own words.
In a blink, in a breath, I was gone. I am no longer Jane Doe homicide victim. My name is Candace Lynn Starr. You are bringing me home, home at last. I still lay in silence, but now finally at rest.
Kim Holland, KRQE News 13.
What a story. Pamela Mulligan is so grateful to people in New Mexico who helped to bring her sister home that she is now collecting donations in Idaho to give to a group that helps crime victims here. And if you would like to donate to that, visit our website, krqe.com.